أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحان الذي أسري بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير. وآتينا موسى الكتاب وجعلناه هدى لبني إسرائيل. وآتينا موسى الكتاب وجعلناه هدى لبني إسرائيل ألا تتخذوا من دوني وكيلا. ذرية من حملنا مع نوح إنه كان عبدا شكورا. ذرية من حملنا مع نوح إنه كان عبدا شكورا. ذرية من حملنا مع نوح إنه كان عبدا شكورا. وقضينا إلى بني إسرائيل في الكتاب وقضينا إلى بني إسرائيل في الكتاب لتفسدن في الأرض مرتين لتفسدن في الأرض مرتين ولتعلن علوا كبيرا فإذا جاء وعد أوليهما بعثنا عليكم عبادا لنا أولي بأس شديد فجاسوا خلال الديار فإذا جاء وعد أولاهما بعثنا عليكم عبادا لنا أولي بأس شديد عبادا لنا أولي بأس شديد فجاسوا خلال الديار وكان وعدا مفعولا ثم رددنا لكم الكرة عليهم وأمددناكم بأموال وبنين وجعلناكم أكثر نفيرا إن أحسنتم لأنفسكم وإن أسأتم فلها فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة وجوهكم وليدخلوا المسجد كما دخلوه أول مرة وليدخلوا المسجد كما دخلوه أول مرة وليتبروا ما علوا تتبيرا إن أحسنتم أحسنتم لأنفسكم وإن أسأتم فلها فإذا جاء وعد الآخرة ليسوءوا وجوهكم وليدخلوا المسجد كما دخلوه أول مرة وليتبروا ما علوا تتبيرا عسى ربكم أن يرحمكم وإن عدتم عدنا وجعلنا جهنم للكافرين حصيرا عسى ربكم أن يرحمكم وإن عدتم عدنا وجعلنا جهنم للكافرين حصيرا إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم. إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا. إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا. وأن الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة أعتدنا لهم عذابا أليما. ويدعو الإنسان بالشر دعاءه بالخير وكان الإنسان عجولا. وجعلنا الليل والنهار آيتين فمحونا آية الليل وجعلنا آية النهار مبصرة لتبتغوا فضلا من ربكم ولتعلموا عدد السنين والحساب. وكل شيء فصلناه تفصيلا وكل إنسان ألزمناه طائره في عنقه وكل إنسان ألزمناه طائره في عنقه وكل إنسان ألزمناه طائره في عنقه ونخرج له يوم القيامة كتابا يلقاه منشورا كتابا يلقاه منشورا اقرأ كتابك كفى بنفسك اليوم عليك حسيبا من اهتدى فإنما يهتدي لنفسه ومن ضل فإنما يضل عليها ولا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى وما كنا معذبين حتى نبعث رسولا صدق الله العظيم. سيدي يا رسول الله يا عظيم الجاه يا ابن عبد الله رحمة أنت لكل العالمين يا رسول الله يا خير الأنام يا ضياء الكون يا نور الظلام يا رسول الله يا خير الأنام يا ضياء الكون يا نور الظلام جئت للدنيا جميعا رحمة جئت تدعو للتآخي والوئام جئت تدعو للتآخي والوئام كي يعيش الناس في أوطانهم في سلام ووئام. الله صلى على الرسول والملائكة الكرام. الله صلى على الرسول والملائكة الكرام. إن الصلاة على رسول الله شمس لا يغيب. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم يا ذا الحبل الشديد والأمر الرشيد، نسألك الأمن يوم الوعيد والجنة يوم الخلود مع المقربين الشهود والركع السجود والموفين لك بالعهود. إنك يا رب، إنك يا ربي رحيم ودود، وإنك تفعل ما تريد. اللهم اجعلنا هادين مهديين لا ضالين ولا مضلين يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من السلب بعد العطاء، ونعوذ بك من عضال الداء، ونعوذ بك من عضال الداء، ونعوذ بك من شماتة الأعداء. اللهم إنا نسألك فرجا قريبا. اللهم إنا نسألك فرجا قريبا ونصرا مبينا وفتحا عظيما وصبرا جميلا وصفحا جميلا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أغننا بحلالك عن حرامك، وبطاعتك عن معصيتك، وبفضلك عمن سواك. يا حبيب القلوب، يا حبيب القلوب، أنت الحبيب، أنت إلفي وأنت مني قريب. يا طبيبا بذكره يتداوى كل قلب سقيم. أنت الحبيب، أنت إلفي وأنت مني قريب، يا طبيبا بذكره يتداوى كل قلب سقيم. اللهم اجعلنا من الذين يحبونك، اللهم اجعلنا من الذين يحبونك. اللهم إنك قلت عن قوم في كتابك الكريم تحبهم ويحبونك. اللهم اجعلنا منهم يا الله. اللهم املأ قلوبنا من خشيتك، اللهم املأ قلوبنا من معرفتك، اللهم املأ قلوبنا بالتوجه إليك يا ربنا يا ربنا يا ربنا. مددنا أيدينا إليك نريدك يا الله، فأردنا يا الله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على عبدك ونبيك ورسولك محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه. اللهم آمين. الله أكبر الله أكبر. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. لا إله إلا الله.
صلوا عليه وسلموا اشفع لنا يوم الزحام. بشرى لنا إن الهدى زال عنا فالهنا واتقوا أن تزرعته بل بشرى حاضر لنا. صل عليه دائما في كل حين ربنا وآله وصحبه الأمان والوفاء. صلوا على خير الأنام المصطفى بدر التمام. صلوا عليه وسلموا يشفع لنا يوم الزحام. يا نفس طيبي للقاء يا عين قلبي هارونا. هذا جمال المصطفى أنواره لاحت لنا. تمام صلوا عليه وسلموا يشفع لنا يوم الزحام بشرى لنا إن المنى زال عنا فالهنا والدهر أنجز وعده والبشر أحاط لنا صل عليه دائما في كل حين ربنا وآله وصحبه الرحمن والوفاء صلوا على خير الأنام المصطفى بدر التمام صلوا عليه وسلموا اشفع لنا يوم الزحام يشفع لنا يشفع لنا يشفع لنا يوم الزحام لله الملك المشرق لا يقبله لله الملك المشرق لا يقبله في كل مكروهة مقامك أول تتبدل الدنيا وأنت مخلد دار وإذا تتبدل والمعارف تزداد ومطارة قلبه وأخرى تقبله وتظن أنت بها كل حرام دستور تستطيع الكتاب منزل وأظن أنت بها كل حرام دستور تستطيع الكتاب منزل أفيك رؤياتنا لخوفك أفيك للمبالغ أفيك رؤياتك لخوفك أفيك للمبالغ انت بين الرب متعددين وقرآن قوم سلعتين أبني قرآناتنا نورك هداية للسماوات العلى بالآيات نورك هداية للسماوات العلى يا الحياة بالآيات فيه السلام الحكيم مشجعا للعبد تبديل أبديك يا كتاب أبديك بدمك على أبديك يا كتاب أبديك بدمك على أنت الرب من وعدني واخترت من سيأتي أبديك رحمتك يا كتابي نورت كل الدنيا بالعالمين ووصل معرفتي نورت كل الدنيا بالعالمين ودمعت الشام ووصل معرفتي عزا ونصره نعمة الله وعدو شهادتي أبديك رحمتك يا كتابي أبديك رحمتك أبديك بجنبك أنت ربنا وعزني واحفظك من سيئاتي أبديك احنا ذنوبا نحن عبد كلنا لا ننتهي كرم ربنا احنا ذنوبا نحن عبد كلنا لا ننتهي كرم ربنا ولا كل بأس الإله مهما تساوت الملك والإله أبديك رحمتك يا كتابي أبديك رحمتك يا كتابي أبديك رحمتك يا كتابي
جزاك الله خيرا.
صلوا على خير الأنام المصطفى بدر التمام صلوا عليه وسلموا يشفع لنا يوم السحاب يا نفس طيبي باللقاء يا عين هذا جمال المصطفى أنوارنا صلوا على خير الأنام المصطفى بدر التمام صلوا عليه وسلموا واشفع لنا يوم السحاب بشرى لنا من الغنى زال العنا وفننا وتروحك سواته والبشر لنا صل عليه في كل حين ربنا وآله وصحبه الأمان والوفاء صلوا على خير الأنام المصطفى بدلتنا صلوا عليه وسلموا أشرى لنا السحاب يشفع لنا يشفع لنا يشفع لنا يوم السحاب
Assalamu alaikum. I'm still waiting to see if you can. Okay, alhamdulillah. So we are live. Yes, you can see the canvas. Can see me. The light is good. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Um, we will start our second session of art and reflection and remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was 2 weeks since we had our first session, and I hope everyone by now is still at home holding all fine. And hopefully we will have, inshallah, a good activity for the next 1 hour 15 minutes or so, inshallah. I will try to wrap it up within that time. I will still wait 2-3 more minutes for people to join in and join us in the session, because once I'll start painting, then you'll miss out. So alhamdulillah, the whole goal of this session, the art session that we are holding, is that we want to have this as a dhikr session. We will reflect on painting. We will do the painting, and the paintings are all from nature, while we will be doing the colors on, putting the colors on the canvas, we will remember those sceneries we have talked about in the last session the same way, that we're not being able to go outside. Let's recreate the sceneries outside, inside. But then at the same time, we will remember that this beautiful creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that this year, for the first time, we are not being able to be out there and enjoy to the fullest of it. And that's an eye opening for us, that we always know the nature is out there. I can just step out and enjoy it anytime. And then the summer passes away, spring, fall. Said it in the wrong order. The spring, summer, fall passes away, and we are busy. We do not have time to see it. We do not have time to enjoy it. We do not have time to see the flowers and the breeze, enjoy the breeze. Um, this is the first time, because we always think it's there. It's not going away anywhere. This is the first time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us that when we say La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, all the power and might belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that even stepping out and enjoying that nature, that also is not in our hand. It's in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hand. And being stuck at home gives that feeling that, okay, what did we miss for this? What did we miss for many, what should I say, many years? And I will be short of breath. Inshallah, this is not something alarming. I always suffer from this during winter, when the wind, when the air is really dry, and when we're inside, how much I run humidifier, it doesn't help. And subhanallah, this year I am suffering it even more, as the winter is almost gone, because we are like definitely at home, barely can step outside. So subhanallah, the humidity in the breeze or in the air that we breathe in and makes us comfortable in our breathing, do not think about it on every other day. When I'm suffering from it now, and I'm thinking about it, that how big it is, subhanallah. So the way we read in Surah Ar-Rahman, so which of the favors of your Lord will you deny? Every other thing is a favor around us, which doesn't, we do not look any moment or any given moment as favors. But subhanallah, all of them are favors. Alhamdulillah. So let's start our session. So it's going to be the same. We will do the dhikr of Allah, remembrance of Allah, and remembrance of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I have got many texts and feedbacks from my friends and acquaintances from different locations, and all of you surprisingly used the same term, that it was very relaxing and it was very calm. And surprisingly, subhanallah, I want to make sure and clear it that that was absolutely not because how I run the session, how I do painting, definitely not because of the background, the simplest background as it can ever be. That was absolutely because you all and I also remembered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the session. We had our intention that this is a Friday evening on a Jum'ah day. May Allah accept this as a session of ibadah, act of ibadah from us. That is the reason why it felt so calming and why it felt so relaxing. No other reasons. So inshallah, pray that this session and onwards, every other session will be like that. So before we pick up our brush and go over the canvas or paper, let's renew our intention that we are focusing today, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's medicine for your heart, to calm ourselves down and have a tranquil moment, inshallah. And even if you're not from a Muslim religion, Islam, you surely can focus on your God, focus on the divine, and reflect and meditate while you're painting. Right? Okay, inshallah. Now, I could have your, I know we have our sessions with family. That was our focus, that parents will be with children or siblings will be with children. So we will have um, an audience, say from little kids to different age range. And our goal is to fit in everybody in the act. So, inshallah, if you are a very young person, don't worry, mom, dad, brother, sister, whoever is with you, aunt, uncle will help you. And painting, if you are not an expert, it's absolutely no big deal. There is no mistakes in painting, only happy accidents. I didn't say it. It was Bob Ross who said it. So we will do that. So at the end, you will be happy with your painting. You will, inshallah, promise yourself you'll look at your painting and you will feel happy about it. Now, roll up your sleeves, and what you need is, because I'll be using acrylic color, so you need paper napkin so that you can clean your brush on that paper napkin. You need water, and what else do you need? No, and you need paint, and you have your canvas, and you have your art paper. Now, last session, I have said that if you have a canvas or you have an art paper, it works in that case. If you have a regular paper, it doesn't work that much. So we want to soak the whole canvas with water so that it's easier to paint on it. It becomes smooth. So remember, if you only have an art paper, do this, or you have canvas, then do this. Not if you have regular paper, because regular paper will get all soaked in water and get torn off. Yeah, good. I'm just checking if the light is good on this canvas. So I have, if you, I do not expect everybody to have this brush, like no way. I do a lot of painting, that's why I have this. You can just grab, those kitchen towels, kitchen paper towels, and rub that, soak it in water and rub that over your whole canvas. Now, our today's painting is on sunset. So what all the colors are there during a sunset? I want you guys, you all to remember what all the colors. And if I count, there is blue, yellow, orange, red, purple. That's the color in the sky. You and so and in the sky, and we're going to paint water here also. So we will reflect it on the water also, inshallah. Nice. Now, from the last session, what I realized is that if I draw things with pencil, you cannot see it very well. So you will draw with pencil, but I will do the eye outlines with color. So this easier for you to see, unless it doesn't show very well in the video. So first, let me take blue. So I will mix some blue and I will draw very basic blue. Let me show you how basic blue it is, because we're hoping that everybody, oops, which way? There. So this is the this is the blue that I'm using. So I'm going to do the blue outlines first. So you will remember those places blue will go. Now, so I will take some water on it. So say the top of the sky, always like picture. We will see the sunset a little later now. We cannot see much well from the window, I know. But picture, like say top of the sky is actually blue during this time. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw like an outline, and you draw it with pencil, because I know how to cover this blue up later and mix it up and like vanish it. But then on a paper, it's difficult to do. So I will want you to draw just an outline so it gets easier for you later. I'll have water here. Come on. Okay. So that's the blue, and here, not exactly in the middle, but somewhere, say like nearly 2/3 of the canvas or your paper, you draw a line. So this will be the line between the sky and the water. This line. Is my line straight? I'll straighten it up later. So the thing is that, again, this far is blue. So I'm going to draw the border here, that I'm going to draw this part blue later. Now, that's my blue part. Now I'm going to take orange. Orange to draw the orange borders, and I'll tell you what color. This will be kind of like color by number so that it gets easier for you. Let's take orange. So if you do not have orange, you know how to make orange. You have to mix yellow and red, and that turns out to be orange. Easy. So I know that you still have pencil, and I'm using color brush. So my orange borders will be here. So right here, here will be one border, one color I will use. And then is these corners, I will use some other colors. So this is just to give an idea, okay, how it's going to be and how we're going to separate colors from all of these. Now, I told you in the last session that if you are painting with acrylic color, white, any color, white actually takes a couple of layers to show later. So we are going to put the white in the place of sun so that later when we are doing like a yellow sun, it shows better. So wash your brush really well in water, because we do not want our brush to get covered in any other color than the, if you have pencil, I have color. But for this, let's take white. Let's take a brush. I have taken a very thin brush. Let me take a bigger brush so that it's easier for you guys if you have a bigger brush. So I expect you have two brushes. One is thin and one is like a little thicker. Yes, where did it go? There. So let me take the white and draw a sun here. You can draw the sun with your pencil first. I'm just going straight with color, and I'll bring it closer. I'm sure you can see the white. Right? And because there is a reflection of the sun in water, so I'm going to draw the same thing upside down also. So here. And see how that white, because this is acrylic color, it's covering the blue. It covered the blue. So the thing about colors is that if you want to paint with watercolors, I can see that it's visible through the video. If you want to use watercolors, the idea of watercolor is you have to start your painting with the lightest color, and you put the darkest color last, because watercolor is transparent. It doesn't cover it up. If you're painting with oil painting, you start with the darkest and you put layer after layer, and you put more light. If you want to make a portion lighter, you put more light color on top of it, and then it becomes lighter. Acrylic color, the advantage of it is that it's like plastic. So it just covers up the whole thing. Doesn't matter. As soon as it dries, you can cover it up with color. Now, I am sure it's all visible for all of you over there. And you can see there's a sun in the middle. Alhamdulillah. Now, while I am taking out, take the blue, right? You already have white in your brush and you have blue. Now I'm going to take a little bit of blue with the white because the middle of the blue part will be a little lighter because the sun is here, right? Wherever the sun is close, that part will be lighter and the corners will be darker. So because we already have white in the brush, that's how you save colors and not go too messy. You already have white, so you mixed it with blue, and I will show you how light it has become. There. This is the blue I have made. Now, let's put that blue. And while we're putting that blue, we have just said, right? Which of the favors of your Lord we can deny? Surat Ar-Rahman. فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ. So let's say 10 times Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim while we're putting the blue. Okay, so I will say it myself and you also say it all together as if you're a family. Let's do the dhikr all together. If you're by yourself in front of your laptop, let's do it loud so that you can hear it, right? And everything in your room can hear it, inshallah. So let's say 10 times Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya Ar-Rahman, Ya 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 Ar-Rahim. And let's say that 10 more times. Before you say it, I will show you what I'm about to do. And remember, we drew a border here for blue. So I am going to add blue here also, while we have that same color in our brush, right? So let's do these things at the same time while we are saying Ar-Rahman, Ya Ar-Rahim. Ya Ar-Rahman, Ya Ar-Rahim. Ya Ar-Rahman, Ya Ar-Rahim. 10 more times. That will let us have 20 times doing the dhikr of Ya Ar-Rahman, Ya Ar-Rahim. 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 Now, we have done the lighter part of the sky. I'm going to dry my brush with that kitchen paper towel. See, my paper towel is all dirty with all colors. So I just dried it up because now that very solid blue we had, did you see this blue? So that blue will go to the corners because subhanallah, the beautiful creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-musawwir, the one who is the fashioner, the one who has fashioned this beautiful world in such everything in places perfectly. And then he is al-jamal, he is beautiful and he loves beauty. The nature is the biggest proof of that, right? So it goes in perfect harmony that the sky will be gradually blue. So I took that dark blue and I will show you how you mix it. So let's do dhikr 10 times while we are mixing, right? We will say 10 times La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. While we're doing this, let's say 10 times La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. 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 لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. While you're doing dhikr and you're painting, let me tell you. So this top, it just gets mixed. So this will come together. How you see, I have put the colors. Now I will show you how to mix it. You can have the same brush, or if you're afraid that you shall not be able to do it, take a clear brush, right? And okay, let me show you how you do that with a clear brush. Have your thin brush and clean it in water very well, dry it up, and then what we will do it. Remember that light blue that you made? Take a little bit of light blue on that brush, all right? And I'll see how you mix it. It's very easy. It will not look like two different colors over here. I have the dark blue here, and then with this brush, I'm going to, we will not, so the trick is you will not, oops, could I take it? Yes, it's visible. I'm not going to drag it all the way in the middle, no. But then I'm going to do it with this, mixing this corner up, so that it doesn't look two different colors. And then you just sweep it, like you sweep the floor. So sweep it, and then I'll do the same at this corner. Do you see how it kind of looks? It's mixed. The same way you will do it here. Sweep it, sweep it. And you still have the very dark blue in your brush. So let's take the dark blue and sweep it again. So this portion we're sweeping the canvas, and it gets nicely mixed. Now, if it didn't get mixed for you, don't feel sad, because if it doesn't get mixed, that will make it a contemporary art. There is a modern art concept where you have the colors side by side, like say dark blue, light blue, and you see it from far with your eyes the way we talked about it. The light falls in surfaces. From far, it will look like, oh, these borders are mixed. And you'll come close and you'll see, no, this is a separate color, this is a separate color. So you will create modern art. So there is no feeling sad if you cannot do this. And if you can do this and try it, practice it later. I have been painting for a long time. So over time, with practice, you will get hold of it just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing here on these corners with dark blue and that light blue. Mix it up. So while doing it, I'll keep saying 5 more times because I haven't finished saying it 10 times. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. So I'll say it 5 more times and you guys keep saying it too. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. 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 Now, we have finished the part of the blue. We will move on to the next color. For the next color, let's make the colors because there will be yellow, orange, red. 3. So we have our white. I'm going to go grab some orange and dark red. So if you have just one red, right? Say if you have just one red, this red, yes, you have this very dark red. Or you have this light one. This is brilliant red. This is what they're calling it. So I'll take both and I will show you, and I'll take, let me take yellow, and we have to mix the color. Sunset is one of my most favorite painting to do. It has so many beautiful colors on the same set. Subhanallah, sunset and sunrise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala paints the sky with brilliant shades of color and it looks amazing. And okay, let me take yellow. So what I want you to do is, you took yellow, you took red, and now you mix yellow and red a little separately. Look, I have the dark red, the light red, the yellow. So whatever red you have, right? You do not have to, oops, can I show? I'm still getting used to with this camera. So now I'm going to take this yellow and use this. I have taken the red also, mix them, and it will become my orange. And the trick is, take less red, more yellow, because the darker the color, the more overcoming it is. So it will overpower your color. Do you see I made orange? Yes, you do see that I made orange. Now, let's do this. We have made margins, right? You have made it with pencils, and I did it with color. Now, you can do at your ease. Let me first show you. Later, I will show you how to mix it up so that it doesn't look all over the place. But remember how I said it's easier to start with the lighter color when you're using thicker components like acrylic and oil paint? Acrylic doesn't matter, but if you have a lot of time, taking a month to finish a painting, it's no big deal. But because we have a shorter time, let me take the yellow first. So I have this yellow here. I took yellow in my brush, you see? So let's paint my sky. And this is the trick. I will show something. Do not bring the yellow all the way to the border of blue, because what is blue and yellow together? I wish I could hear you guys. Blue and yellow is green. So we do not want green sky. So we will leave like a little bit space. And then, so I would recommend you guys to take the bigger brush to do this. Let me do the big brush. Take the bigger brush also. I'll take the yellow, the brilliant yellow, cover the sky with yellow. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, now, before we start it, let me tell you another thing, another reflection. That, so we just talked about yellow and blue mixes and it becomes green, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has all these colors in the sky during sunset, side by side, nothing mixes, and it doesn't become green. So the power, it's a very beautiful thing to look at, a soft, subtle thing to look at, right? But that shows you the power. He is the one who owns all the power, right? The power that the day doesn't overcome the night doesn't overcome the day. Like, you just don't take day and dump it on night, or you do not take night and dump it on day. It takes like a good 1 hour, slowly the light dims, or in the morning 1 hour, slowly it gets lit up. We don't get a shock like, oh my god, it was all light, suddenly it became dark, right? How did that happen? That doesn't happen. And he the word in Quran, is used in those verses where the alteration of night and day is being talked. اختلاف, the alteration of the day and night. I'll talk about that verse while you are painting. So that majesty, right? It's incredible. So let's say, inshallah, while we are filling up yellows here, here, and everywhere, while we are doing that, let's do another dhikr. Let's say 10 times, Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, Subhanallahil azim, right? And then because we are going to put more yellow all over the place, so you can keep saying that. Even if you're done 10 times, doesn't mean you have to mean that you have to stop in 10 times, because we know from hadith, Prophet ﷺ said, whoever says 100 times, Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will erase his sins if they were like the foams of the ocean. We have seen the foams of the ocean, how tides comes and splashes into the shore. So let's keep saying Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, Subhanallahil azim, while I am putting yellow in the sky and in the water. Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, Subhanallahil azim, Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, Subhanallahil azim, Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, Subhanallahil azim, Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, Subhanallahil azim. 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 I'm going to leave these places empty and not put yellow there. I'll show you why. That trick I'm going to leave for last. I will be needing more yellow, so I will take out some more yellow. Now, one thing. Do you see how my canvas has these markings, pencil markings on it? So I'm reusing canvas. I wanted to do something on it, and I decided not to. Those pencil marks are still there. So this is another trick that I will teach you if you are painting very seriously, that if you want to reuse a canvas that has some scratches on it already, and this is canvas primer. So it kind of covers it very well. For me, you can remember that. And if you want to do more paintings, we should go green. We should reuse things. So I'm going to reuse this primer to cover this up. And you will see it will not cover up it will not cover up the colors, but it will cover up those pencil marks that I have. And we will keep saying Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, Subhanallahi al-Azim, 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 Subhanallahi wa bihamdihi, now, remember I told you while we already have something on our brush, let's reuse it. Now we have yellow on our brush, right? So, and you painted the sun white. So let's take a little bit of yellow and a little bit of white at the tip of your brush. Do you see? I have taken a little bit of white there too. So what I'm going to do is I am going to put that yellow in the sun. So the sun will not be like shocking yellow. It will be a little bit whitish yellow. And we will put another layer of color on it later because this is our final stroke. The sun will be our final stroke. We'll finish the painting with that and with something else also. So covered the sun as you have pencil marking. So you will remember where your sun is, and I'm putting a little more white in the sun, right? There you go. We have the sun done. The sun done, yes. We have the sun done. And we have prayed a total of 50 adhkar, right? We have said 50 adhkar because subhanallahi wa bihamdihi subhanallahi al-azim are 2 dhikr together. Okay, now it's Friday. While you are, I will give you a couple more minutes to put more yellow there. And I want to talk about this interesting thing I just said, right? The alteration of day and night. And while studying Quran, of course, I have like a drop of knowledge in the ocean. Right now, I'm in first grade. You can say that level of knowledge I have learning Quran. Very, very little, very, very little. But the verses in Quran where it's mentioned, this alteration of day and night, right? Like, say, from Surah Al-Imran. So it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna fi khalqis samawati wal ard. So indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth. Wa ikhtilafi layli wan nahar. And in the alteration of the day and night, la aya tilli ulil albab are signs for those of understanding. Albab is like intellect. And the same kind of verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the same mentioning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah in verse 164, and it's a huge verse. I can just say the English. Because we were just thinking, right, in the nature, what all the things are there in the nature. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and in the alteration of the night and the day, and the great ships which sail through the sea with that which benefits people, and what Allah has sent down from the heavens of rain, giving the life thereby to the earth after it's lifeless, and dispersing therein every kind of moving creatures. If you don't have rain, that's a pain for the farmers. We do not grow food anymore. That's why we don't understand that. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues, and his directions of the wind, the direction of the winds, and the clouds controlled between the heavens and the earth are signs for a people who use reason. Over there, the word al-albab used, and here the word yaqilun used, that you're using aql. And the same way, this alteration of day and night in Surah Al-Yunus, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, but there he mentions La ayat liqawmi yattaqun. So here he says these are signs for a people who fear Allah. So, and again, this alteration of day and night is mentioned in Surah Al-Mu'minun, and there again the word taqilun used, right? Using aql. So using intellect, using understanding, reasoning, and fearing Allah. When we are looking at all these signs in the nature, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, do you reason? Do you try to reflect? And do you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, looking at the majesty of the perfection of all these things? And this is incredible science, no flaw in it, right? Subhanallah. And today, the outside is so good in sunlight. While I was setting up this whole thing, I was thinking that last session it was all cloudy, so I had to have this white light inside the room. But painting in all colors looks best in sunlight. We human beings have created so many lights, right? But even if you paint something in the white light at night, in morning the color will look something else. The green in the field might look a little more bluish in the morning of the daylight. So subhanAllah, even the light that He has given us from the sun, that's the perfect light for us to see every color properly. Subhanallah. Now let's move to the orange. You already have yellow in your brush, so I would recommend don't clean it. Rather, let's go to the orange and let's take the orange on your brush where there is already yellow. Let me see. Yes, you can see it. And what I will do is, I have to take a sip of water. So take the brush, and now is the fun part. I love this the most. You are going to swip it back and forth. Look how it's creating the effects by itself. You don't have to do anything. Yes, you can see those. And while we are doing this, before I do that, let me remind, why am I reminding all these things? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran says, وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And remind, for indeed the reminder benefits the believers. So benefits all of us, benefits me, then benefits you. And remember in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His angels send salawat to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So all you who believe, send salawat to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every Jum'ah, when we go and sit and listen to the khutbah, the Imam always says that. So let's say 10 salawat to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. While we're doing this, let me start and show you what we're doing. While you're doing that, let's say 10 times, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Now, look at this. I have that orange in my already yellow colored brush, and I am just sweeping it left and right. I'm not really bringing it in the middle all the way because we want to keep this middle a little more light because the sun is just directly down there, but the corners, so you cover your canvas like this. While you're covering, you can watch me putting oranges here and there, and I will keep saying the salawat, and you keep saying the salawat too, all together on a Friday. The things that we're supposed to do on a Friday, good for us to do. Reading Surah Al-Kahf, sending salawat to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we will keep sending salawat to our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. 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 Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina So the trick is take as much water as you feel comfortable in your brush so that you can sweep it back and forth easily. Do you see? So whenever your brush is too dry, it will start looking like this. Do you see this? Yes, I'm sure you can. It will not look smooth. It will not fit smoothly. So put as much, not a lot of water. It will become watery. And if you have paper, paper will rip off. But do you see how much water I have taken in my brush? There is water. Do you see? It's glistening in the light. So kind of like that much water so that your brush is smooth. And I'll keep saying salawat to our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. 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 Now, see, already it looks very nice. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Now, what we will do is we will take the red, but the red is tricky. So you do not want to put, so that's now it's more than sweeping all over the place. It will be more like strokes. Now you are coming to the stroke of an artist. So you all my fellow artists who are watching this video, we are going to do strokes. I will show you. So I have the dark red. I'm going to use the dark red and the light red. If you do not have both, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to use the same brush. You don't have to do that. As I said, over the time, you'll have that hold. But right now, if you don't have, take two brushes. One having the dark red, one having the light red, or one having the dark red and not light red. One having the dark red and one having that yellow in it, so that you can mix it really well. So that dark red, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. While putting it, I will keep saying the salawat on Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Do you see that I'm overlapping the red with the blue? There is a reason for it. And you guys will see it. As I said, I'll keep it for the last. Do you see I've put the strokes all around? The sky looks very different now. If you do not have black, my cousin this afternoon texted me, how am I going to attend the session? I do not have black paint. You can mix all the dark colors, blue, red, brown. If you have green, and mix them really well, all the proportions same. It gives a very dirty dark black color. And from physics, we know black is the construction of all the colors all together, something like that. Okay, now I have to do the water the same way too, so I'm going to do the strokes in water also. See the white places that was left? I'm putting the red, and this I'm going to mix. I will show you how to mix it so that it doesn't look like, oh, what is this? It's a halfway through. It's not mixed. And this place, put little bit of red there, not a lot. Light. I have taken a lot of water in my brush. So for these corners, a lot of water. See how watery it is? It rather looks white there, or like we can see the canvas. Now, that brush where you had yellow, take that brush. Or take a clean brush and take orange in it, whatever you feel comfortable, and make it very watery. Like I have a lot of water in my brush. And whatever looks like it hasn't mixed well, do you see it hasn't? You can see the strokes. You can leave the strokes. That's an art too. Do you see how the impressionists artists, you can literally see every stroke? That's a style. So if that is your style, you leave the stroke. You do not change it. But for mine, I'm going to mix it. So that's the advantage of having canvas, working on canvas, because you can move it back and forth. And now I have taken a little white also in my brush, and I'm sweeping it, and it gets mixed over this canvas paper, canvas cloth. It's a canvas cloth. It's not paper. Great exercise for hand, for your wrist. Great nerve glide. This is what physical therapists call it. And if you cannot finish it by today, remember the video will be up for a whole week. We want to keep it for a week and then take it off the next week, because when something is there, we're always like, it's there. I'll do it later. But right now, it's time for us personally to be creative, personally to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your space with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is entirely your space with Him. It's a great opportunity for us because we have a lot of time in hand. We're at home. So we can practice this dhikr of Allah, remembrance of Allah, having meditation. It's a very difficult thing to do, doing meditation, sitting there. But somebody taught me that it's like, you know how whatever game you play, you catch. If you're playing cricket, you catch. If you're playing tennis, you catch the ball with your racket and throw it back. So when you are trying to meditate, doing dhikr, reading Quran, right? Doing adhkar, whenever you're feeling restless, you catch that restless thing and you throw it away. It sounds, you cannot see it. You cannot really physically catch it with hand, but through your mind, you do that. And say later, because if it seems that this painting is not due, you cannot finish it by now, watch the video later and do that, inshallah. And the week, this video will not be up in SBCC's page, you will create your own painting, inshallah. And we all will become creative, inshallah. And I'll keep saying salawat to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. 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 I have taken a lot of red. Now I'm going to mix this with yellow. That yellow that I had, I'm going to show you. Do you see in my brush I have taken yellow and white? You don't have to really do that now if you're not confident. You can mix them together, this yellow and white, and then use the mixed color on there. What I'm going to do, I'll show you a trick. When you have two colors right like that on your brush and you have the control, like you have done it many times, or you have to first time try, unless how will you do that stroke many times? So once you put it on canvas, it just becomes a mix. See, there is white in it and then there is yellow in it. It puts its color on its own, what should I say, wish. And that makes it really beautiful. Look at that. That's why Bob Ross said there are no mistakes in painting, only happy accidents. You will do a happy accident and you'll find out, oh, it looks so good. Now what I'm doing is I am taking the white and the yellow, and I'm just, so do you see here? Here it's left to be smooth. So I am just smoothing it. Let me take it closer so that you can see. Yes, I guess now you can see it better. Now is the fun part that I said that I will do it last. What does purple made with? I really wish we had a live audience and I could hear it from you guys. It's some blue and red. So I am going to make purple. And I will show it to you once I have made it. Okay, let me show it to you. Do you see the purple I made? There is the purple. There. So that purple I'm going to take. Remember, we said we are going to mix this line. So let's mix that line. So white, this little white left. corners of the painting, and then you just, that stroke that I taught you, that you just drag it like this in the middle. So there, corner, you paint. See, even if you put this over red, it doesn't just mix and make some other color. It just covers it up. So this is the trick. It will look like, oh, it all blends in all together. This is the final touch. This is a reflection of ours, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says there are signs for the believers in the alteration of day and night. For us, the sign is I have been in many classes where our teacher asks, like, I want to hear reflections from you guys. And it's incredible to see, like, one verse of Quran, so many beautiful reflection comes from people's mind. We all think differently, but that's the beauty of Quran, that same verse speaks to different people. The reflections are maybe different, but they all connect. And it's just incredible. I am sure many of you are thinking about some amazing things when you're reflecting about this alteration of day and night, right? So remember this bottom here, where the water and the sky like meets. So we're going to put this purple here also. And I'll keep sending salawat to our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. 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 Just be careful. Don't drag it over your sun. We want to keep the sun exactly yellow and clean. And here I'm going to mix it too, right? At the corners, just like that, just like this, see? So here, the water, the blue was separated from red. Now you're just mixing it. You're just mixing it with the red and the blue. That is purple. So there it is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us, do tadabbur al-Quran, that is, reflect upon Quran, right? With all the beautiful artistic verses and majestic verses. There are surahs, when you read them and when you reflect on the meanings, that generates fear in our hearts. That in many things we come short. We fall short. We human beings have so many flaws in ours. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Al-Ghafurur Rahim, subhanallah, that just reminded me. Let's say 10 times. Ya Al-Ghafur, Ya Ar-Rahim. Let's say 10 times. Ya Al-Ghafur, Ya Ar-Rahim. 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 I have learned very recently that if you are in distress, we are supposed to be reciting Ayatul Kursi, the verse 255 of Surah Al-Baqarah, and then verse 285 and 286. That's the last two verses of Surah Al-Baqarah. The very interesting thing is that Ayatul Kursi is all about the majesty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And the last verse of Surah Al-Baqarah, there is a dua, and how earnestly we are making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah forgive us if we have erred, or we have erred, like we have done wrong or we have fallen short, right? ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا, and do not impose upon us what you have imposed upon the people before us, right? The punishments. May Allah not give us those. And do not give us that we cannot bear. Subhanallah. Okay. And now I'm going to clean the painting up. So cleaning it up is that these places, I'll just put some yellow to mix it up. And the verse continues, وَاغْفِرْ لَنَا وَارْحَمْنَا أَنْتَ مَوْلَانَا, and forgive us and have mercy upon us. You are our Mawla. It's absolutely beautiful. Because when you are making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, earnestly feeling helpless, submitting yourself totally in the mercy of Him, you feel like that. And the dua itself speaks like that, subhanAllah. Okay. And I'm going to clean.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رضي الله تعالى عنهم وعن كافة المؤمنين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Dear brothers and sisters, good evening. Welcome to another blessed evening. Particularly welcome to the Friday night, the Laylatul Jum'ah, the night before the Jum'ah in Ramadan. This is the night, alhamdulillah, where we embrace and we welcome the half of Ramadan, and where we will discuss the 15th part, the 15th juz of the Quran. The 15th juz of the Quran is a very, very grand, powerful, packed juz of the Quran. It encompasses two really profound chapters of the Quran, chapter 17, which is Surah Al-Isra, the chapter on the night journey of the Prophet ﷺ. Actually, as we know, just the first verse talks about the night journey of the Prophet ﷺ, and then the bulk of the chapter discusses the story of Musa alayhi salam. Parts of it that we didn't know, as well as some other ahkam related rulings related to Allah Ta'ala's consistent laws that He has revealed to all prophets and messengers. And it also encompasses chapter 17. In chapter 18, in chapter 8, entitled after the cave. And this chapter of the Quran, as we know, is a chapter where it's highly encouraged to recite on Friday, particularly on Laylatul Jum'ah, on Thursday night. So as it works out, alhamdulillah, through the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only are we embracing the halfway mark in Ramadan. And not only are we talking about the halfway portion of we're halfway through with our journey in the Quran, but we're also here marking this beautiful moment on a night of Jum'ah, the blessed night, the most blessed night during the week. And of course, we mark it as well with the reading of Surah Al-Kahf, which is to be done on the night of Jum'ah, meaning Thursday night or Friday morning before Salatul Jum'ah. And of course, chapter 18 of the Quran has a lot in store for us, brothers and sisters. So without further delay, let's go ahead and get started with some reflections. Surah Al-Isra, the chapter on the night journey. The first verse is most important. Well, the rest of the chapter is important as well, but it really sets the stage for what's to come. So it's really important to understand the first verse, and then that frames everything that comes after it in terms of the chapter of the Quran, that Surah Al-Isra. That first verse is a glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and a glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based on his power and his ability and his action of having transported his servant, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from Masjid al-Haram in Mecca to the furthest masjid, which at that time was Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem, and the blessed area, because that was a location where so many prophets and so many anbiya visited that location, frequented that location, taught in that location, prayed in that location, etc. And then what we know later on from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is that the Prophet ﷺ, once there, ascended to the heights, and that through the Mi'raj, the journey throughout the cosmos, and Allah showed the Prophet ﷺ wondrous events. What's important for us is the takeaway is the belief in this miracle, and not only this miracle, but this honoring of the Prophet ﷺ by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also the fact that Allah could have raised the Prophet up ﷺ from Mecca. In other words, the Mi'raj, the ascension of the Prophet ﷺ from Mecca, from Jerusalem to the heavens. The ascension from Jerusalem to the heavens could have happened in Mecca, but Allah wanted the Prophet ﷺ to go to Masjid al-Aqsa. He wanted the Prophet ﷺ to go to Jerusalem. Why? The main part is so that the well-being, the status, the protection of Jerusalem would fall under the spiritual and even material significance. It would have spiritual significance and material significance of the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. Once the Prophet ﷺ was taken to that location, then that location bore significant importance for the community of the Prophet ﷺ to go there and to protect that place and to have a hand in the well-being of Jerusalem. And so Jerusalem becomes the concern of Ummat Muhammad, of the community of the Prophet ﷺ. It also is a symbolic gesture of the fact that the Prophet ﷺ also stepped foot in that place and was in that place, and therefore, as the final prophet of Allah sent to humanity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connected the Prophet ﷺ physically to a spot where all of the previous Anbiya had been to. And so the Prophet ﷺ, having been there, and then from that location going up to the heavens, was of this kind of significance, because Allah could have brought the Prophet up to the heavens from Mecca, but instead he took the Prophet ﷺ to Jerusalem. And that transportation to Jerusalem was important. That journey was very important. It's also important for another deeper reason. The fact is that, again, Allah Ta'ala could have elevated the Prophet ﷺ to the heavens from Mecca, but instead of doing that, he made the Prophet ﷺ take a night journey. And this was important for us to understand, that in order to reach the heights of Allah, in nearness to Allah Ta'ala, in order for his community to follow in those same footsteps, we have to go through the earth. We have to journey through the earth. We have to, in other words, go through real life ventures and encounters. We have to go through challenges. We have to go through difficulties. We have to walk the walk. We can't just ascend heights and leave the earthly kingdom without traversing and going through the terrestrial landscape of the world. We have to go through the world and go through the world properly, go through the world with moral authority, go through the world with spiritual upliftment, go through the world with our pillars intact, with our taqwa, with our patience, and then after going through the world, traversing through the world properly, following the Prophet ﷺ, following the other prophets and the Anbiya, then we can ascend the world, or transcend actually the world, and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this marks the rest of the narrative in the Quran, the rest of the revelation in Surah Al-Isra and throughout the Quran itself. And therefore, the first verse in Surah Al-Isra is very important for us to understand. The second thing that's of importance for us is the verses 18 and 19 in this chapter. Verses 18 and 19 tell us a great deal about how to get through the world and how to deal with the world, and the benefits and the drawbacks and detriments of what happens if our relationship with the world is misplaced. And so Allah Ta'ala says, Man kana yuridu al-ajila, whoever wants the ajila, whoever wants this worldly life right here, ajjalna lahu fima nasha. We're going to give them the world. If you want the world, Allah will give it to you. Liman nurid, whoever wants it. But then Allah says, after you want the world, you desire the world, you slave over the world, and you become a servant of the world, then you'll end up in Jahannam madhura. You'll end up in Jahannam madhmuman madhura, blamed and censured, and you'll be sitting in Jahannam wishing you hadn't done that. And then Allah Ta'ala says, وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْآخِرَةِ, and whoever wants the afterlife, وَسَعَيَهَا سَعْيَهَا, and works for it, whoever desires the afterlife and works for it, right? Whoever desires the afterlife, but then works for it. You traverse through the earth. You don't just want to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you journey through the earth. You work for it. وَسَعْيَهَا, like the Prophet ﷺ had to journey to Jerusalem to get to go up and to ascend. We have to journey through the world. We have to do something. We have to do amal. وَسَعْيَهَا سَعْيُهَا, and they work for it. وَهُوَ مُؤْمِن, and they believe in Allah Ta'ala, right? You believe in Allah, you do the work, you journey through the world, you do what you're supposed to do. فَأُولَٰئِكَ كَانَ سَعْيُهُمْ مَشْكُورًا, then Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will make sure that your strivings will be rewarded by Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So 18 and 19, verse 18 and 19, really give us the proper advice that it's one thing to be in the world, but it's another thing to desire the world. We're supposed to be in the world, but we're not supposed to desire to remain here and to live here and to cultivate here and to be slaves of this place. We're supposed to desire the akhirah. We work in the world, but we desire the akhirah. You know, we exist in the world, we traverse through the world, we go through the world, but we are trying to do that, understanding that we're going to transcend the world at a particular time, at a given time. This is the second point. The other part about this chapter of the Quran is from verses 23 to 39. Allah mentions the 10 ahkam, the 10 central commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He's always issued for every single community throughout the history of revelation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in those 15, 16 verses 10 different things. The first is the importance of tawheed, belief in one God. The second is ihsan to the parents, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, respect and duty to your parents. The third is to give وَآتِي ذِي الْقُرْبَى, to give to those of your relatives, help your relatives out, right? The fourth is just general spending. Allah Ta'ala says, don't be a spendthrift and don't walk around with your hand attached to your neck, meaning, be stingy, but instead be moderate. Don't spend wastefully. Don't be a mubadhir. Don't engage in squandering your wealth and wasting your wealth, but spend with moderation. The fifth is Allah Ta'ala exhorts us to not to kill our kids, khashyata imlak, out of fear for poverty. Don't destroy the lives of your children. Don't ruin your children. Don't harm your children because of economic hardship. After that, the sixth one is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us not to, وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا, Don't approach adultery and fornication, right? Don't watch the nature of your relationships in the world. Make sure that all of your relationships are lawful, and don't do anything that is, shady with regards to relationships with the opposite gender, right? I mean, don't be hanging out with folks and calling people in the middle of the night and texting and all these inappropriate actions that signal a relationship when in reality you have no intention of such a thing. Or if you want to play around, then don't be surprised if you get harmed. Don't be surprised if those things backfire on your faith. So Allah says, don't play around with relationships. Don't do things that would approach zina. If you're going to enter to a relationship, then be straight about it, be clear about it, be upright about it, and do the right thing. And don't kill. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ. Don't take a life, right? And Allah Ta'ala says, وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا فِي الْقَتْلِ. Don't waste in killing, right? Even when you have to take a life, if the state has to take a life, for example, well, don't wrongfully execute people. Don't put people on death row that are innocent. Don't waste lives, for example. Don't abuse the orphan's wealth. Allah Ta'ala says, be just and balanced in the scales when you're weighing and measuring and taking equivalents of things. And finally, don't walk the earth when you've got to traverse the earth, whether it's from Mecca to Jerusalem, whether it's from, Cambridge to Boston, whether it's from New York to Chicago, wherever the case is, when you go through the earth, don't walk the earth with arrogance, right? With haughtiness. Don't strut the earth like you own everything and everything's about you. Don't be like that, because you're not as tall as a mountain. Neither are you strong enough to crack the earth with your hand if you were to hit the earth. So Allah Ta'ala gives us these advices, which are actually ahkams, which are rulings that Allah expects us to live by. This is a surah about the night journey, and this is also about the journey through the earth if we want to get to Allah Ta'ala. It's not just about the Prophet's night journey and ascension. It's about us following the Prophet ﷺ in ascending to Allah Ta'ala, and that requires us to go through the earth, whether it's from a sacred space to another sacred space, or from a sacred space to a mundane place, or from a mundane place to another mundane place. The rules are the same. The rules of traversing the earth are these things. And what's interesting is that these 10 rules that Allah introduces to us in starting in verse 23 and ending in verse 39, these 10 rules, they are bracketed by Tawheed. And brothers and sisters, I want you to remember this point. Take this down in terms of this surah. These 10 rules are bracketed with Tawheed. In other words, the first rule is to remember that we don't associate any partners with Allah. And then at the very end, Allah reminds us that, and don't associate any partners with Allah. From the beginning to the end, it's about Tawheed. And this is very interesting, because as we'll see later in the Quran, there are 10 more verses where Allah Ta'ala talks specifically about the traits of the believer, and they're bracketed as well, but they're bracketed from beginning to end with salah, with the prayer. So the first thing talks about the prayer, and the second thing talks about the prayer. Very interesting. The surah we read last night, or we talked about yesterday, was Surah An-Nahl, about the honeybee. It starts off with the exhortation of patience, and it ends with patience, right? Although the word sabr is not in the beginning of the surah, Allah Ta'ala says, Ata amrullahi fala tasta'jilu. The affair of Allah, the judgment of Allah is coming, so don't rush the judgment of Allah. In other words, be patient. Patiently live your life. Patiently go about your life. So it starts off with sabr, and the chapter ends with sabr. Keep in mind and be alert to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts things in parentheses, brackets things. What are the borders around which He puts certain conditions? And with these 10 sort of commandments, these 10 ahkam that are in Surah Al-Isra, they are bracketed. They are in between Tawheed. Don't associate partners with Allah is the first one, and the last one is, and your God is one God. So keep that in mind from beginning to end, from the start of your journey to the end of your journey. From the time you come into this world, Allah, la ilaha illallah, to the time you go out of this world, la ilaha illallah. And everything that is in between your origin and your destination, whether it's a physical origin and a physical destination, or biological in terms of birth, origin, and a biological destination in terms of being buried, it's all about Tawheed and maintaining the rules of Tawheed, the expectations of Allah Ta'ala in between that journey throughout life, that journey throughout the earth, so that we can then transcend the earth and be in a proper, pleased place with Allah Ta'ala. This is what Surah Al-Isra is all about. And so the last thing, two more things as we sort of want to wrap up, is to notice the story itself, the chapter of Isra. After that first verse, the entire chapter is also bracketed with the story of Musa. It starts with the story of Musa and ends with Musa alayhi salam, the entire chapter, right? After the first verse about Isra, we go right into the story of Musa. And then right at the end is the story of Musa. Again, Allah Ta'ala invokes Musa again, alayhi salam, to remember, that because Musa alayhi salam, his journey was through the earth as well and through difficulties also. And this is the paradigmatic example for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I want to also just give a note to those of you that are students that are entering into exam period and may have exams, that this is the chapter of the Quran that contains the greatest dua to say for passing your tests. And by extension of that, any kind of test that you're in, dear believers, dear brothers and sisters, any kind of trial or test that you're going through, or anything that's a challenge, even if you're going to a job interview, whenever you want to go into a situation and you want help from Allah, whenever you're entering into a new context, or you're entering into something and you hope to get the best benefit out of it, and you're going to be tested or you're going to be questioned and you want Allah's support, this chapter of the Quran contains one verse that is to be read to ask Allah for support. And that verse is verse 80. You should memorize that. Whenever you whenever you have a test to take, say verse 80 before the test, and Allah's support will come. If you have a job interview, say verse 80 before that job interview starts on Zoom or wherever it is, and Allah's support will come. If you have a court case and you need to have court and you need Allah's support, you say this verse and Allah's support will come. This is verse 80. وَقُلْ رَبِّي أَدْخِلْنِي مُدْخَلَ صِدْقٍ وَأَخْرِجْنِي مُخْرَجَ صِدْقٍ وَاجْعَلْ لِي مِن لَّدُنكَ سُلْطَانًا نَصِيرًا. Meaning, Allah Ta'ala says for us to say, "Oh Allah, let me enter this thing with truth, and let me exit this situation with truth, and gift me from your maqam, from your dominion, gift me from your realm, Sultan and Nasira, a helping, aiding, supportive power and authority. Gift me a support and an aid and authority from you to get through and to get out of this." This is the most beautiful dua. It should be on the radar of every single believer when they're going through tests and trials and tribulations. Verse 80, brothers and sisters. Finally, the last part of this juz of the Quran, chapter 15, the halfway mark in the Quran, is really deep. Chapter 18 of the Quran, Surah Al-Kahf, the chapter on the cave. And, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the one who memorizes the first 10 verses of this chapter will be protected from the Dajjal. The first 10 verses. The first 10 verses are the foundation of this surah, and it contains what we need to know about the core of this surah. We know that this chapter of the Quran is about, it starts off with the narrative of the people of the cave, the youth of the cave who fled seeking refuge in the cave. They fled their community and their city, particularly because it was rife with disbelief and an oppressive ruler that was forcing the people to change their belief system. And so the narrative of this space here, the story of this space became memorialized in the Quran because of these were young folks these were not older folks, these were young folks. This is a story of our youth, of our youth that had been rooted in belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they fled the sins of their elders and the older community members and peer pressure to isolate themselves, to quarantine themselves, dare I say, to self-isolate themselves from the larger community. And this is a chapter that talks about the importance of quarantine and isolation from disbelief and polytheism, right? That's the worst human virus. That's the worst thing. It's one thing to lose your life to, the coronavirus, and it's a horrible thing to have to go through that loss and to lose a loved one in any case, in any circumstance. But to someone who has lost who has lost their life because of an illness, what they've lost is the physical state of their existence. They still have a spiritual existence, is what we believe as Muslims. And so what happens is, if a person succumbs to idolatry, polytheism, shirk, associating partners with Allah Ta'ala, and they die like that, then not only have they lost their material existence and their material well-being, but they've also, more importantly, lost their spiritual well-being. And so it is even worse upon them, because the afterlife is the real life. It's the existent life. This life here is transitory. But the next life is abqa, Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, more, it remains permanently. And therefore our permanence is affected. And so the real virus that the Quran introduces us to in Surah Al-Kahf, which requires quarantine and self-isolation, is the virus of disbelief and polytheism. That's the story of Surah Al-Kahf. And these kids, these young men quarantined themselves in a cave, not in their apartments where they had the comfort of their own home and internet connection and Wi-Fi and had the access to Facebook and WhatsApp and Twitter and things of this nature. No, they were in a cave, and they were in a cave. A few of them, whether it was 5 or 6 or 7, and they had a dog. They took even the dog with them. They quarantined the dog from the community that were disbelievers, and they stayed there and they went to sleep, and Allah allowed them to sleep for 300 years, right? So they had the ultimate level of quarantine. Think about the frustration of us. We've been here, in quarantine and isolation for a month, 2 months, etc. And alhamdulillah, Allah makes it work for us, and it's not like being in a cave, And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us of the virtue of these people who self-isolated themselves from the virus that was in their city. And how they became true believers in Allah Ta'ala, true examples for believers, and how their site where they isolated themselves, where they quarantined themselves, and became a center of sort of a pilgrimage and an ayah and a sign of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So this is the first part of the story that is the gem of Surah Al-Kahf. And as you read it, think deeply about these things and how we're in isolation as well, and how is it that we can make our isolation like this cave. The Prophet ﷺ received revelation of the Quran after he ﷺ quarantined himself and isolated himself and went to a cave and spent 40 days there. And we're almost at the end point. We're at the halfway point of Ramadan, and we are essentially in the same predicament. What are we doing with our time? How are we remembering Allah Ta'ala? How are we devoting ourselves to Allah Ta'ala? And so this is the lesson of this moment. And the other thing is the example of the two brothers that are mentioned in Surah Al-Kahf, in verse 34 to 44, where Allah mentions two brothers. One of them they were both given wealth in the narrative. One of them, bought real estate, and it was nice, plush real estate, a garden with rivers and palm trees and grape vines and cornfields and irrigation. And the person and his other brother gave his money in charity and believed in. One of them was a believer in Allah, and the other was a believer in the garden, right? And they saw this as the gift that Allah gave them, the ni'mah Allah gave that brother as a garden. That brother took that ni'mah, and it became an idol for that brother. And that brother said, when he entered the garden, وَهُوَ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ, he oppressed himself. And how did he oppress himself? It's because he succumbed to the belief that his garden was going to exist forever, and that he would, even when he died, he would get better in the afterlife, right? And so he oppressed himself because he allowed his ego, the arrogance of thinking that his wealth made him independent, that his wealth made him autonomous, that he didn't need anyone. His wealth strengthened him so much that he didn't have to believe in anything. This was the oppression that he did for himself. And his brother checked him and says, how you forgot the one that created you from turab, right? The brother understood the disease of arrogance And the cure of arrogance was to remember the origin of your creation. And so he talks about the origin of his creation and says maybe Allah Ta'ala will take all of this away, and cause a lightning to strike your garden and it'll all go away. And that's exactly what happened. The brother lost his investment, lost all the blessings, and he lost his material gift from Allah Ta'ala, and he just had remorse and regret for what had happened. This is a lesson from Allah Ta'ala in this chapter to tell us, don't let your material wealth and your investments and your money, don't let your blessings delude you into thinking you're independent in this world. You're not independent. You are at a radical state of dependence. No matter how much you have, you will never be independent of Allah Ta'ala. You will always need Allah Ta'ala. Don't look at blessings as independence. Look at blessings as dependence. Dependence meaning you've given those things because Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala wants to care for you. You are his dependent. That's why you have. And if you've got other dependents that rely on you, you have not because you're special. You have because they're special. So for example, if you have children, you have wealth not because Allah loves you, but because Allah loves your innocent children who are innocent and they have to be provided for. So your existence matters, for example. So don't let the barakah and the blessings and the gifts and the bounties of Allah Ta'ala that he gives us, don't let it delude you into thinking you are, Allah Ta'ala says, to see yourself as being independent. This is part of the lessons of Surah Al-Kahf, and I want to remind you, brothers and sisters, that the juz ends with the story of Musa and Khidr and Yusha, and it's a lesson in sabr and patience as well. Again, the juz ends with patience, as the last juz ended with patience. Keep that in mind as well. The juz ends with patience. The Prophet ﷺ, and I'm closing now, the Prophet ﷺ told us in a hadith, he said, Rahimallahu akhi Musa. May Allah Ta'ala have mercy on my brother Musa. If he had more patience, he said, if he had more patience, then Allah would have related much more about this story to us. Allah would relate much more to us about his encounter with Khidr in the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ wanted to hear more, and so he was saying he wished he had patience. Dear brothers and sisters, we've come to the end now. I want to just remind you that tomorrow night we will shift our time. We will not start at 9:30. We will start, inshallah, at 9:45, and we'll go to 10:15, and that'll be our schedule for the remainder of Ramadan. Again, 9:45 Eastern time, and we'll go to 10:15. May Allah Ta'ala bless all of you and preserve you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala.
Alhamdulillah, my dear brothers and sisters, tonight is the 15th night of Ramadan, half of this blessed month. And the question that I have for myself and for each and every one of us, how are we doing? How are we doing? Are we doing as well as we expected? Is it not as much? Is it a little bit more? Alhamdulillah, regardless of what it is, make sure that what you do in the second half of Ramadan is more than what you did in the first. It's not too late to pick it back up. If you're disappointed with your performance so far, it's not too late. It's not nearly too late. Push, inshallah. Dig deep in your soul and push forward. Give yourself this energy. Give yourself this motivation to improve yourself, to increase your iman higher than it has ever been, inshallah ta'ala. Scholars know that iman increases and decreases, right? As the Prophet ﷺ taught, the way you feel in your heart, you're not always at the same level. Make sure, inshallah, make it your goal that this Ramadan, you reach a level you have never reached before. Inshallah ta'ala. And you know what? When you reach it the first time, it makes it easier for you to reach it again and again and again, inshallah. And it makes the future for you going forward easy. So even if there are these ups and downs normally through life, they don't oscillate about the same level. They're up and down, but the overall trend is up. Today I wish to focus on a single story in the Quran. A story that we will be reading tonight, inshallah ta'ala, in Surah Al-Kahf. And it is one of my favorite stories in the whole Quran. This is the story. It's a very short one. It is about the man of two gardens. And I'd like to go through it in some detail and have some reflection on it because it illustrates some very deep meanings and it raises a very deep understanding of the human soul. The human soul is fascinating. It can be very humble, it can be very arrogant, it can behave in very different ways, depending on what you give it, depending on what is before it and the power that it has. And subhanAllah, it sees things differently, it will process things differently, it will rationalize things differently, depending on its state and depending on how powerful, how dependent it feels. The story starts by setting the stage. The story starts by setting the stage. Uh, I'm told the sound has some issues with it. Is it working right now? Alhamdulillah. So the story starts. My apologies, my dear brothers and sisters. I'm told the sound there are some issues. So let me try something very quick. Assalamu alaikum. So on with our the Quran starts by stage. واضرب لهم مثل الرجلين أعناب وحففناهما بجعلنا زرعا كلتا الجنتين آتت أكلها ولم تظلم منه شيئا وفجرنا خلالهما نهرا. It starts by saying, and presented them the example of two men. We granted to one of them 2 gardens of grapevines, and we bordered them with palm trees, and placed between them fields of crops. In anything. The Quran starts by setting the stage that this man has great wealth, and today we're a bit distant from, of having some sort of a massive garden, right? We don't necessarily see that. We don't feel that like people used to in times when they were heavily reliant on agriculture. But just think to yourself in a time when you have a piece of property that not only gives you food, but gives you a massive source of income. Just steady income keeps coming in. You don't have to do so much to maintain it, right? And it's saying that it has its own river, it has its own irrigation. So you're really not doing much. And you have this wonderful thing that everybody's looking forward to. And everybody looks and they think to themselves, well, I wish I had that, right? Well, I have more people working for me. I have more children that is He said, and it is hard to see for him. Right? He just felt it was hard for him to fathom how this supreme power may one day fail. I've had this garden for years, maybe decades. It works seamlessly. Look at the system that I have devised. And he couldn't comprehend that this will not last forever. Despite theoretical knowledge that similar ones have met their end before, or that you're not going to live forever, it doesn't matter. He hasn't internalized this. The consequence of this belief of his, or this feeling that this will never perish, is very simple but dangerous and even surprising. وَدَخَلَ جَنَّتَهُ وَهُوَ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. And he entered his garden while he was unjust to himself. قَالَ مَا أَظُنُّ أَن تَبِيدَ هَذِهِ أَبَدًا. And I do not think this will ever perish. وَمَا أَظُنُّ السَّاعَةَ قَائِمَةً. And I do not think the hour will occur. Strange, maybe even unrelated. You know, he's full of himself with this garden. Why would he suddenly jump to, I do not believe in the day of judgment? It almost seems unrelated, but it is related. Because a blessing that is accompanied with thankfulness and humility is a sure path to peace in the dunya and the akhirah. It is a path to yaqeen. You see the wonder of each blessing, and you see the signs of God in everything you've been given. And likewise, a blessing that is accompanied with pride, boastfulness, arrogance, it will take you away from the ultimate purpose. It will make you so consumed with the here and now that the akhirah seems distant, ephemeral, and hard to comprehend. One may even begin to doubt it on some level. And this is what this man went through. وَلَئِن رُدِدْتُ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي لَأَجْدَنَّ خَيْرًا مِنْهَا مُنْقَلَبًا. And even if I should return back to my Lord, I will surely find something better than what I have now as a return. SubhanAllah, the state of mind that he was in, it was essentially transforming religious belief according to his hawa, according to his desires, not based on what it actually says. So even if it turns out there is a day of judgment, surely I'll be good, right? Surely I'm good. I'm good here, and I'll be good there as well. Realize, my dear brothers and sisters, this story, these ayahs are not for someone else. These are for you, they're for me, they're for all of us. We all have a ability to fall down these paths. And how many times have we made dua to Allah for a blessing, but when it comes, we forget to thank? How many times do we get consumed with the blessing that we forgot to say thank you? How many times are we given something that drives us away from Allah? This job, this income, this status, this or that. And it can actually be a path for you to get away from the truth if you're not careful. قال له صاحبه وهو يحاوره أكفرت بالذي خلقك من تراب ثم من نطفة ثم سواك رجلا. His companion said to him while he was conversing with him, have you disbelieved in he who created with you from dust, and then a sperm drop, and then proportioned you as a man? This friend of his, whom he was belittling at first, he said to him, he was reminding him of his lowly origin. No matter what you have today, no matter how much status or wealth or knowledge or what have you, what awesome power you have, just think about it. How small were you, and how you became what you are today? You should reflect on the power, the wisdom, the incomprehensible wisdom that made you into what you are today from this tiny entity. SubhanAllah, that should boggle your mind. That should humble you. That should make you understand where the true power lies. It isn't in you. You have been given something. It is not yours. You are simply using it for a time. And it will be seen how are you using it. لكنه الله ربي ولا أشرك بربي أحدا ولولا إذ دخلت جنتك قلت ما شاء الله لا قوة إلا بالله. But as for me, his friend continues, He is Allah my Lord, and I do not associate with my Lord anyone. And why did you, when you entered your garden, not say, what Allah willed has occurred, and there is no power except in Allah? Why didn't you say MashaAllah when you entered your garden? He was trying to make him understand, your power is transient. The only real power is beyond you, above you, in the hands of God. إن ترني أنا أقل منك مالا وولدا فعسى ربي أن يؤتيني خيرا من جنتك ويرسل عليها حسبانا من السماء فتصبح صعيدا زلقا أو يصبح ماؤها غورا فلن تستطيع له طلبا. Although you see me less than you in wealth and children, it may be that my Lord will give me something better than your garden. And maybe he will send upon yours, a calamity from the sky, and it will become smooth, dusty ground. Or its water will become sunken into the earth, so you will never be able to seek it. He was enumerating for him all the different ways things could go wrong, trying to tell him all these things you rely on, they're way beyond your power. It's not you. It's not in your hands. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you something. Be thankful for it. Be humble to the one who gave you what you have. And you look down on others as if what you have will last forever. You may lose it in your life, and you will surely lose it when you pass from this life. And many people theoretically understand this, but they have not internalized it. And as a consequence, they behave as if they will never lose their power. They use it in such a way as if it is always with them, as if it's something that is part and parcel of who they are. When does it become clear to this man? When all is lost. وَأُحِيطَ بِثَمَرِهِ. And his fruits were encompassed. And subhanAllah, in just two words, وَأُحِيطَ بِثَمَرِهِ. Encompassed by what? Or surrounded by what? We don't know. It's not given. Maybe a fire, maybe a drought, blight. Allahu A'lam, who knows? And that's not the point. The point is that it's just so simple that all of it was lost. Something happened and he lost all of it. فأصبح يقلب كفيه على ما أنفق فيها وهي خاوية على عروشها ويقول يا ليتني لم أشرك بربي أحدا ولم تكن له فئة ينصرونه من دون الله وما كان منتصرا هنالك الولاية لله الحق ثوابا وخير عقبا. And his fruits were encompassed by ruin. So he began to turn his hands about in dismay over what he had spent on it, while it collapsed upon its trellises, upon its foundations. And he said, "Oh, I wish I had not associated with my Lord anyone." And there was for him no company to aid him other than Allah, nor could he defend himself. There, the authority is completely for Allah, the truth. He is best in reward, and He is best in outcome. This man, my dear brothers and sisters, whose example is given, he finally realized how transient it all was when he actually saw its end. And he turned to God. And you see, لَيْتَنِي لَمْ أُشْرِكْ بِرَبِّي أَحَدًا. I wish I had not associated anyone with Allah. So he turned to God in the end. So even though it was painful for him, perhaps it was better. So the point of this is, maybe you should turn to Allah before this happens. The worst thing that could possibly happen, actually, is that this lesson you never get in the dunya, and you get it when it's too late, after your life has gone. So to myself and to all of us, I ask, do we understand this lesson? Do we understand that we don't control everything? We don't control anything. Even most of what goes on inside our own bodies, we have minimal control over. We think we're strong, but it takes a tiny invisible virus measured in nanometers to bring us down. Weakness comes and reminds us who we really are. It wakes us up. It humbles us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all humility, purity in our hearts. May He revive our souls. And may He make the blessings of the dunya a means for guidance, thankfulness, and increase in our iman, not a means of misguidance, ungratefulness, and lowering of our iman. وجزاكم الله خير.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وجعل الظلمات والنور ثم الذين كفروا بربهم يعدلون والذي خلقهم من طين ثم قضى أجله وأجل مسمى عنده ثم أنتم تمترون وهو الله في السماوات وفي الأرض يعلم سركم وجهركم ويعلم ما تكسبون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين فقد كذبوا بالحق لما جاءهم فسوف يأتيهم أنباء ما كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا من قبلهم من قرن مكناهم في الأرض ما لم نمكن لكم وأرسلنا السماء عليهم مدرارا وجعلنا الأنهار تجري من تحتهم فأهلكناهم بذنوبهم وأنشأنا من بعدهم قرنا آخرين ولو نزلنا عليك كتابا في قرطاس فلمسوه بأيديهم لقال الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا سحر مبين وقالوا لولا أنزل عليه ملك ولو أنزلنا ملكا لقضي الأمر ثم لا ينظرون ولو جعلناه ملكا لجعلناه رجلا وللبسنا عليهم ما يلبسون ولقد استهزئ برسل من قبلك فحاق بالذين سخروا منهم ما كانوا به يستهزئون قل سيروا في الأرض ثم انظروا كيف كان عاقبة المكذبين قل لمن ما في السماوات والأرض قل لله كتب على نفسه الرحمة ليجمعنكم إلى يوم القيامة لا ريب فيه الذين خسروا أنفسهم فهم لا يؤمنون وله ما سكن في الليل والنهار وهو السميع العليم قل أغير الله أتخذ وليا فاطر السماوات والأرض وهو يطعم ولا يطعم قل إني أمرت أن أكون أول من أسلم ولا تكونن من المشركين قل إني أخاف إن عصيت ربي عذاب يوم عظيم من يصرف عنه يومئذ فقد رحمه وذلك الفوز المبين وإن يمسسك الله بضر فلا كاشف له إلا هو وإن يمسسك بخير فهو على كل شيء قدير وهو القاهر فوق عباده وهو الحكيم الخبير قل أي شيء أكبر شهادة قل الله شهيد بيني وبينكم وأوحي إلي هذا القرآن لأنذركم به ومن بلغ أئنكم قل إنما هو إله واحد وإنني بريء مما تشركون الذين آتيناهم الكتاب يعرفونه كما يعرفون أبناءهم الذين خسروا أنفسهم فهم لا يؤمنون ومن أظلم ممن افترى على الله كذبا أو كذب بآياته إنه لا يفلح الظالمون ويوم نحشرهم جميعا ثم نقول للذين أشركوا أين شركاؤكم الذين كنتم تزعمون ثم لم تكن فتنتهم إلا أن قالوا والله ربنا ما كنا مشركين انظر كيف كذبوا على أنفسهم وضل عنهم ما كانوا يفترون ومنهم من يستمع إليك وجعلنا على قلوبهم أكنة أن يفقهوا وفي آذانهم وقرا وإن يروا كل آية لا يؤمنوا بها حتى إذا جاءوك يجادلونك يقول الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا أساطير الأولين وهم ينهون عنه وينهون عنه وإن يهلكون إلا أنفسهم وما يشعرون ولو ترى إذ وقفوا على النار فقالوا يا ليتنا نرد ولا نكذب بآيات ربنا ونكون من المؤمنين بل بدا لهم ما كانوا يخفون من قبل ولو ردوا لعادوا لما نهوا عنه إنهم لكاذبون وقالوا إن هي إلا حياتنا الدنيا وما نحن بمبعوثين ولو ترى إذ وقفوا على ربهم قال أليس هذا بالحق قالوا بلى وربنا قال فذوقوا العذاب بما كنتم تكفرون قد خسر الذين كذبوا بلقاء الله حتى إذا جاءتهم الساعة بغتة قالوا قالوا يا حسرتنا على ما فرطنا فيها وهم يحملون أوزارهم على ظهورهم ألا ساء ما يزرون قد خسر الذين كذبوا بلقاء الله إذا جاءتهم الساعة بغتة قالوا يا حسرتنا على ما فرطنا فيها وهم يحملون أوزارهم على ظهورهم ألا ساء ما يزرون وما الحياة الدنيا إلا لعب ولهو وللدار الآخرة خير للذين يتقون أفلا تعقلون قد نعلم إنه لا يحزنك الذي يقولون فإنهم لا يكذبونك ولكن الظالمين بآيات الله يجحدون ولقد كذبت رسل من قبلك فصبروا على ما كذبوا وأوذوا حتى أتاهم نصرنا ولا مبدل لكلمات الله ولقد جاءك من نبأ المرسلين وإن كان كبر عليك إعراضهم فإن استطعت أن تبتغي نفقا في الأرض أو سلما في السماء فإن استطعت أن تبتغي نفقا في الأرض أو سلما في السماء فتأتيهم بآية ولو شاء الله لجمعهم على الهدى فلا تكونن من الجاهلين